What's going on, guys? So today I'm going to be talking about what parents really think about entrepreneurship. And I think it's one of those things where what are they supposed to think, right? I think being an entrepreneur is inevitably one of the riskiest things that you can do, right? Because you're deviating from the status quo of go to school, work really hard so you can go to college and work really hard so you can go into the job market and get a really good job that's going to support your family. And that's like the status quo. And I think ultimately, if you think about it from a parent's perspective, the ultimate goal of a parent is to protect their child and make them avoid danger, make them avoid anything that could potentially lead them to a lack of success, so to speak, right? So I think it's almost like asking for too much to get your parents to be fully on board with you becoming an entrepreneur, because that's going against their very nature. And the reason I'm going over it is because so many people are like, oh, my mom doesn't like the fact that I'm doing this, or my dad doesn't like the fact that I'm doing this, my family's not very supportive, and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's true. That would you like the support of everyone in your family when you're taking on a new venture? Yes. However, the natural instinct of the people who love you and the people who care about you is to protect you. So that's kind of going against that, because like, if I love this person and I want to protect them and I'm looking out for them, last thing I want to do is see them in a really risky situation that they could lose it all. I mean, I think that's the dichotomy that really mess people up. And when you think about that, you're like, maybe I should stop looking for them to just 100% support me and start looking into showing them progression, right? And I think that's how I would look at it, is like showing them progression, because once again, naturally, like, hey, go to school, then go to school again, then get a job that feeds you and feeds your future family and may put you in a position to look out for your parents once you get to that point, right? So if I was, I guess, restarting my, entrepreneurial journey, one of the things that I will care about the least is support from my parents. Would I like it and would I be excited about it? Yes. However, it's not something I would demand if I knew what I know now. It's one of those things where, because it's risky and it's a deviation from the status quo, as I was saying, it comes with some level of questioning. Are you making the right decisions? We've never seen anyone take on and conquer something like this before. So to us, that's just too risky. And their job is to protect you. And I want to say protect in like a sense of like coddle you, but they want what's best for you. So I think ultimately, you and your parents want the same thing. They want you to be good, and so do you. It's just that you've been educated to a point where your version or your understanding of being good for you, or what's good for you, is a little bit different than what they want for you. So I think when it comes to that, what you have to focus on is I got to show them instead of just tell them. Because if I tell them, the likelihood of them believing me, it's not really that high, because they have no evidence, right? Like, I know people say, believe half of what you hear and all of what you see. That's kind of how it has to go, especially if you're a new entrepreneur. You just came from living with your parents, or maybe you're still living with your parents, right? And you haven't shown them anything that tells them that you're going to be the successful entrepreneur, because you're still in the embryonic stage and you're learning everything like you're supposed to, so you can take on this huge venture and become a really successful business owner and so on and so forth. And they're not used to that version of you. And that's scary, and that's uncertain, and that's supposed to make them feel uneasy and stuff like that. So all of what I just said requires, it sounds like less support from them, but essentially it's going to be like there's friction on a daily basis to put you back in your comfort zone, or in their comfort zone, or put you back where they believe you will be able to live a more comfortable life, and almost like a assured success type of avenue. And your entire brain as an entrepreneur goes against that, where you're like, why do they want me to be comfortable? Well, they want you to be comfortable because they're your parents and they care about you, and they want you to endure the least amount of friction as possible. Wow, would be a good way to say that. So if I was talking, for you, young entrepreneurs, or maybe you just a little bit more advanced, I would stop trying to seek more of the validation and affirmation from your parents before you take on this venture, because whatever is planted in your head and what you're looking to do, it's just in your head until people see it, and then they're going to start believing it. You got to understand that you won't have the support of your friends and family in the beginning, at least not as much as you want to, because they have no evidence of you running a business, so they think it's just risky, until you show them that, hey, here's what I can do. And you start showing some personal progression in your daily habits, your disciplines, and you reading, and the things that you take serious now, or the things that you no longer pay attention to, or the people that you start hanging around, or your ability to start paying to get in certain circles so you can learn from certain people. And all of those is going to start demanding that you're doing the right thing. And then they start believing you little by little. They're not going to go from not believing you one day and all of a sudden they believe in, your ability to accomplish this huge feat. Is going to happen little by little. They like to start seeing how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you go about things, and your attention to detail, the things that you care about, and all of those starts changing gradually. What's happening now is now you're buying their faith in you, essentially, right? And they start believing you more and more, and you start believing you in more and more, and you sound very convicted when you talk about where you're going, and eventually you get there. Where everyone, you know the phrase, I knew you could do it. Reality is, did they know you could do it? No, but they love you enough where they wanted to keep you safe, and you just thought safe was not good enough, because entrepreneurs are just different minded people. I would say we go out on a limb and do the uncertain thing, and we do the thing that's most people think is risky and most people think is dangerous, especially if you want to become an entrepreneur on a larger scale. Then you literally look for problems to solve. You look for things that aren't great, but maybe they might be good or less than good, and you look to turn them better. Like, you find different ways, and for some people it's maybe like what you saw in your family. You just wanted to be that person that changes the entire dynamic of how things are in your family, and you have to go out on a limb to do that. And that looks weird, that looks odd, and whatever other words you want to use to describe that, but it's out of the norm. So because it's out of the norm, it scares people a little bit. And because it scares them, they want to protect you, to tell you, hey, take this lane instead. And it's up to you to understand that concept, where you constantly push to show people, like, look at my development. And eventually that development leads to accomplishment. And then people start believing you more and more. Hopefully you got something from that, because I know as an entrepreneur, your parents are a huge part, and everybody wants the support of their family and friends and things like that. But that's what I would say to go about when you want to accomplish a goal of being an entrepreneur. You have to first, silence the noise. And unfortunately, some of that noise comes from the people that care about you the most. Silence the noise and focus on your growth. And eventually you get everyone's buy-in, and you become this big success that everyone's looking for. Hopefully you got something from that, and I'll see you in the next video.